Hey everyone, Chris here and welcome to my channel. In today's video, I'm here to announce year 2 of Phase Out Your Seriesathon. So that's right, Phase Out Your Seriesathon is back for a second year. If you've never heard of this before, Phase Out Your Seriesathon is a readathon created by myself and Omi that is a year-long readathon. So this year will run from January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026 in your time zone. The goal of this readathon is to phase out your series. I know I am guilty of picking up the first book in a series, reading it, and then just not continuing the series. And I know a lot of you are too, hence why me and Omi created this readathon to help give you some prompts to tackle those series and drop those numbers down. So there is a Google Doc that will have all of the information I'm about to go over in this video, which will be linked in the description below. In addition to the rules and the prompts and a frequently asked questions section are some important links. There will be a link to a submission form, which we will add on January 1st. When you finish a book, you can use the submission form to submit your book. We want to see if we can read more series and more books and more pages in 2026 than we did in 2025. There is also a link to 2 different spreadsheets. The first is a bingo card spreadsheet that will help you keep track of your progress during the readathon. That was created by Omi. And then there is a series spreadsheet that I created that you can make a copy of that can help you keep track of all your different series. If you have any questions about either, please let me and Omi know, either in the Discord or in the comment section below. Speaking of the Discord, there is also a link to the Discord for this readathon. It is the same as last year's, so if you participated last year or you have participated in Phase Out Your TBR and are in that Discord, then you are already in the Discord where you need to be. And there are also going to be story graph challenges for each board for this readathon that will be linked in the Google Doc shortly after this video goes live. Now, I did mention boards. Once again, there will be an easy board that is going to be for those of you who want to have an easier time with it, and a hard board for those of you who want more of a challenge. You do not need to do both boards. You can do one or the other, but there are some rules to these boards. First up, for the easy board, you can double up. You can't triple up, but you can double up. So feel free to double up on prompts, or you can choose to read a book for every prompt, or you can do a mixture, totally up to you. For the hard board, you cannot double up. It's supposed to be harder. If you choose to do both boards, you cannot double up between the boards. So if you're reading a book for a prompt on the easy board, you can't conversely then read that same book for a prompt on the hard board. DNFs do not count. You must complete the book or books for you to check off that square. And you must start and finish your books in 2026. You cannot start a book in 2025 and roll it over. And lastly, none of the books can be filled with the first book in a series. The idea is to phase out your series, though there may be a few exceptions to that, but we'll get to those. First up, let's introduce you to the easy board. As you can see, we've kind of changed the colors up this year, so we hope you like the color scheme and how we've changed it up, and you should see some familiar prompts and some different ones. We also tried to change that up a little bit. So first up, we have finish. For this, you just need to finish a series. Next, we have rep. For this, you need to read a book that has some sort of rep in it. BIPOC, LGBTQIA+, mental health, disability, etc. Just find a book in a series that has some sort of rep in it and read that. For small book, you're going to read a book that is under 200 pages or the shortest book you have left in your series. So if you don't have any books that are under 200 pages, then figure out of all of the series books you have left, which one is the shortest and read that. Weapon on the cover. Pretty self-explanatory. You're going to read a book that has some sort of weapon on the cover. For alliteration, you're going to read a book where at least 2 words in a row start with the same letter. A and the, etc. don't count as one of the 2 words. So for example, a cookbook conspiracy or the grandest game. If you are really struggling to find a book, then you can use one with connecting words in between. So for instance, Peril and Paperback or Murder at Midnight. For random number generator, you are going to number all the series you are working on and then use a random number generator to determine which series you're going to read the next book for. Elements on the cover. For this, you're going to read a book that has one or more of the elements, fire, water, earth, air, on the cover. Excited for. Read a book you've been anticipating. For big book, you're going to read a book over 500 pages or the longest book you have left on your TBR. This is just like small book. If you don't have a book that's over 500 pages, figure out what book is the longest one you have left and read that. For in progress, you need to read a book in a series that is still being written, so one that is not finished yet. For TBR Vet, you need to read a book that is from a series that has been on your TBR a long time. For solid background, you're going to read a book whose cover has a solid background, so one color. So for instance, The Missing Sword would count because the background of this book is all one color. For the center square, instead of just being free this year, you need to read any book in a series, doesn't matter what series, doesn't matter what position, can be the second book, the third book, the last book, however you would like to do it. Just read any book in any series and you can check off the square as long as it's not the first one. Novellas. Read a book in a series that has novellas. You do not have to read a novella, just read a book in a series that has one. For book on the cover, you're going to read a book whose cover has books on it. For moon or sun on the cover, you're going to read a book that has the moon and or the sun on the cover. For 5 or more books, you need to read a book in a series that has at least 5 books in it. For name in the title, you need to read a book where a name appears in the title. It does not have to be the main character, but it also has to be a name and not a title. So the Queen or Queen wouldn't count, but Queen Victoria would because Victoria is the Queen's name. For chapter titles, you need to read a book where the chapter titles have names, so not chapter 1, chapter 2, etc. And it does not count if they're telling you which character's POV you are reading from. That does not count as a chapter title. So for instance, it could be written like this with chapter 1, Mouse, because Mouse is the chapter title, even though it does say chapter 1. Or it could be something as simple as Arrival. For indie or self-pub, you need to read a book that is indie or self-published. For location in the title, you need to read a book where there is a location in the title. It can be a real location like London or a made-up one like Wonderland, but it needs to have a proper name. So it can't just be Castle Woods Hotel, but something like the Beast of Littleton Woods or Terror at Thornbridge Hotel would count because they have been given a proper name. For accolade, you're going to read a book that has some sort of accolade on the cover. This could be an award winner or nominee or something as simple as a New York Times bestselling author. For sky on the cover, you're going to read a book where you can find sky on the cover. For complete, you're going to need to read a book in a series that has been completely released. And the last prompt for the easy board is series title. And for this, you're going to read a book where the series title appears on the front cover. So for instance, Mouse and His Dog is a Dogtown novel. Dogtown is the name of the series. So now on to the hardboard. Once again, we have changed up some of the prompts and brought back some of the ones we really liked from last year. So let's dive in so I can explain what you need to do for each of these prompts. For starts with the same letter, you need to read a book where the title of the book starts with the same letter as the author's first name or initial, and things like A and the count, so you would count them for T and A respectively. Next, we have TBR vet by pub date. For this, you're going to look at your entire series TBR, figure out which one was published the longest ago and read that. For series you avoid, you need to finish a series you've been avoiding or putting off. This could mean just reading the last book, or it could be a series where you have more books you need to read. The choice is up to you as to which series you choose. Next is Read the Rainbow. This prompt is going to require 6 books. For this, you need to read a book where 50% of the cover corresponds with one of the 6 colors in the rainbow, and you must read them in order. So you will start with your red book, then read your orange book, then read your yellow book, then read your green book, then read your blue book, and then read your purple book. They have to be read in order. And again, the covers need to be at least 50% of that color. For all 5 vowels in the title, you need to read a book that has all 5 vowels, A, E, I, O, and U, in the title. For in progress, you need to catch up on a series that is still being written. For LGBTQIA plus rap, you need to read a book that has LGBTQIA plus rap either in the book or via the author as long as they are already out. Then we have years and decades. This prompt is also going to require 6 different books. So you need to read 3 books from 3 different decades and 3 books from 3 different years. The years can't be from any decades you choose. So if you choose the 1990s and read a book that is published in the 1990s as one of your decades, you could not then conversely use a book published in 1999 for one of your years. So a way to do this would be to read a book that was published in the 1990s, the 1950s, and the 1920s, and then reading a book that was published in 2009, 2012, and 2025. This does not have to be all from the same series. You can pick and choose which series you want to use for this. Next, we have published in the last 4 months. This is going to require you to read a book that has been released in the last 4 months. So for instance, if you wanted to read it through Gates of Garden and Gold, which is the latest book in the Wayward Children series, which comes out in January, you could read it in January, February, March, or April, as long as you read it in the first 4 months it's been published. Next, we have series you need to reread. For this, you're going to pick a series where you want or need to reread at least one book. It can be more than one book, but it doesn't have to be. And then either catch up or complete the series. First books would count for this prompt if that is the book you need or want to reread. So for instance, you can use a duology for this if you need to or want to reread the first book first to remind yourself what's going on. But also conversely, maybe it's a trilogy and you want to reread the first book and have never gotten to the second, you could also use that for this prompt. This is technically an exception to the first book rule, as the first book would help count for this. But the idea is that you're not reading a book you haven't already read. So you would need to have read the first book in this series prior to 2026. Next, we have 3 different genres. This will require 3 books, and you're going to pick 3 different series that fall under 3 different genres. So fantasy, sci-fi, and historical fiction. If you really only read one genre, then you need to find books that fall into different subgenres. So for instance, if you were choosing historical fiction, you could read a historical fiction mystery, a historical fiction romance, and a historical fiction fantasy. But that is only if historical fiction is the only genre you read. Next is trio of trilogies, and just like last year, you're going to need to finish a trio of trilogies, so 3 trilogies. This can mean 3 trilogies where you only have to read the last book, or 3 trilogies where you have to read both books 2 and 3, or any combination thereof. How many books you need to read for that is up to you. It's anywhere from 3 to 6. Next, we have finish a series. For this, you're going to finish a series that has been completely released. Then we have BIPOC rep, and for this, you're going to read a book that has BIPOC rep. It can either be in the book or via the author. For poll pick, you're going to create a poll featuring an equal number of series you want to read right now and series you don't. So you could have 2 series you're really excited to continue and 2 you're less excited to continue. And whichever series wins, read a book from that series. For intersectional, you're going to read a book where the main character or the author has 2 different types of rep. For example, you could read a book where the main character is deaf and bisexual. Or you could read a book where the author is Black and has stated they are autistic. For 5 or more books, you're going to finish a series that has 5 or more books in it. For duo of duologies, you're going to finish 2 duologies. This will obviously require 2 books. For this, you need to read at least 1 book. And what you're going to do is pick up a series that has been collecting dust because you aren't sure if you want to continue it. And then either catch up or finish it, or choose to DNF it. So again, you must finish at least 1 book for this, but after that book, if you decide you're done with the series, you can DNF the series and walk away. If you have more than 5 books in this series and you decide to keep reading it, you only need to read 5. Next up is set in 5 different locations. This will require 5 books. You are going to read 5 books that are set in different locations. These can be real locations like London or made up locations like Wonderland. Then we come to title starts with MNOP. This will require you to read 4 books, 1 whose title starts with M, 1 whose title starts with N, 1 whose title starts with O, and 1 whose title starts with P. You cannot skip over words like the, a, and, etc. It must be the very first letter of the title. For wheel spin, you're going to add a equal number of series you want to read right now and an equal number of series you don't. Put them on a wheel and give it a spin. Whichever series comes up, you either need to catch up on it or finish it, or read 5 books in the series if there are more than 5 books that you need to get to in that series. For disability rep, you're going to read a book that has disability rep. This can either be in the book or via the author. For color in the title, you're going to read a book where there is a color in the title of the book. And lastly, we have start and finish. This requires at least 2 books and is going to allow you to use the first book. Let's be real, we're probably all going to start new series in 2026. So the idea behind this prompt is to pick one of those series you will inevitably start and either catch up on it or finish it in 2026. So the idea is to read the whole series or catch up on the whole series in the year 2026. Obviously, you're going to need to read more than 25 books to block out this board, but I also tried to spread out the prompts that required more than 1 book evenly across the board. So if you only want to go for 1 row or something, you wouldn't be required to read a ton of books. One other thing I should mention, because this recently came up as a question. Let's say for your 5 or more books prompt, you chose to read Never After and you have books 3, 4, and 5. This happens to be book 4. You could not then use book 3 for another prompt because to complete that prompt, you actually need to read books 3, 4, and 5. Somebody recently asked if you could take one of those books you needed to read to complete a prompt like that and use it for something else. And my idea is no. The idea is that if you picked a series for 5 or more books and you still had 3 books to read, that those 3 books would only count for that particular prompt. So keep that in mind when you are choosing books. If you have any questions, there is a frequently asked questions section in the Google Doc, or you can let me and Nomi know either in the Discord or in the comment section below. I am very excited for year 2 of Phase Out Your Seriesathon. I will remind everybody, all of the information that I've stated in this video is linked in the Google Doc in the description below, which also has all of the important links that you need. I hope you join us for Phase Out Your Seriesathon year 2. I would love to know before you go, what is a series you're hoping to finish in 2026? All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me penguin emojis, like this video and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!